G'day, welcome to Oly35mm, user-based, quasi-empirical, cheap and cheerful videos on Olympus 35mm cameras, and today, APS. Just for something a little bit different, I thought I might share with you some thoughts I had on a little test I did between the APS camera, Centurion, which was the first of the Olympus APS cameras, and the iS-200. Sorry, my apologies, the iS-200. Now, the iS-5000 is possibly a little bit closer in lenses, or in sort of lens range, but to be honest with you, these two models are probably the closest models together. So the Centurion has a 25 to 100 millimeter lens in the APS-C format, depending on whether it's C, H, or P. It's a little bit different, but I think in the C mode it is 31 to 125 millimeters, equivalent of a 35 millimeter. And of course, the iS-200 is a 35 millimeter, and that's a 28 to 110. So they're pretty close, really. So you can't get APS film. So in fact, I'll just take this iS-200 away just for a moment. I'll just talk about the Centurion just for a tick, and APS in general. You can't get APS film anymore. I think the last rolls got made in about 2011 or something. The roll that I ran through expired in about 2010. So you'd have to factor that in when you have a look at the photographs when I show them to you. So watch out for the Centurion, the Centurion S, the Nupic, and the iZooms. They are all APS, and they tend to have this little APS symbol down the bottom. So unless you specifically have APS film, or you want APS film and you can get it processed, because there are places that can't process it, then stay away from these models. Nothing wrong with them. They're actually lovely little cameras, but you're just not going to get the film for them. So unless you're collecting, or unless you've got a store of APS film, then stay away. Okay, so enough of that. Let's have a look at a little bit of the comparison, and it will also be an iS-200 review. I won't do a separate review on the iS-200. So what's the same about these little fellas? Well, they are actually both very, very similar cameras as far as features are concerned. I'll just get these over here so you can see them together. They have very similar looks as far as the LCD screen and the controls are concerned. The on-off switch, there's on the iS-200 is on and then flash. On the top of this one, it's on and then flash. Yeah, whatever. So they're actually very, very similar. The zoom on these are both on the back. You can just see it down there on the iS-200, and it's up there on the Centurion. So in a very, very similar position. And they have the full. They all have the full auto setting. Sorry, they both have the full auto setting. There's 3 or 4 other settings which are sort of a long exposure on there. A landscaping type mode there. A portrait mode there. It's even in the same position, and a running man mode. Which takes your shutter speed up to 1/2000th of a second. They both have diopters on them, so if you're a glasses wearer, you can adjust the diopter there on the iS-200 and there on the Centurion. What else have we got? The shutter buttons are roughly in the same position, and the film loading is actually fairly automatic, although the APS-C is a self-contained cartridge. You don't actually pull a tongue of film out like you do with the 35mm stuff. So they've got, let's see, what have they also got here? They've both got self-timers with them. There is a remote that you can use on this one. You can use a remote on this one. So there is a little accessory remote that I think I've can't remember if I've actually done a review on that already with some accessories, but there's a little infrared or wireless or something. It's probably an infrared remote that you can use on a whole lot of Olympus models. So that's the same, everything the same, I think. Now, what's different with these? There's a backlight compensation on this one, which is 1.5 stops. There is no backlight compensation on this one, but to be honest with you, on the iS-200 it doesn't need it because it's actually got a little spot, which I think is about a 6-degree spot, if I remember rightly. So it's not really needed. The flashes can be controlled by once you actually turn the flash on. So here we go. So you can see there, I've just turned the flash on to that setting there. I'll turn this one on. There's the pop-up flashes for both of them, making all sorts of noise. Here you can see you've got your flash auto. I'll just see if I can press that and get it to work. Auto, fill in. And I thought there was an off as well. Let's have a look. Auto, fill in. Oh, and of course the off is putting the flash down. Doll. Don't worry about me. Okay. And this one here, this is what you get for playing with too many models. Your brain gets addled. And then over here is your red eye reduction. So there's a little bit of a difference there. That's fill in flash. And off by pressing that one down. So that's a difference there as well. Obviously, in the APS system, if you know anything about it, and I know very little about it, but in the APS system, generally you have, in the higher end cameras, the opportunity for 3 different formats. You have classic format, which is a 2:3 ratio. You have high def format, or I think it's HD it's called, format, which is 16:9, so the same as the tellies these days. And then you have a panorama format, which is even shorter, it's even lower and longer, if you like. You know, it's a longer ratio. The vertical side of it is shorter, and the horizontal side of it's longer, if that made any sense to you. The really cool thing about APS, and it's sort of a bit of a shame in a way that it's died, is that it's marked somehow on the film, and the processing machines automatically know whether to do a 3x2, 16:9, or that panorama, whatever it might be. So, lovely little camera. It worked quite well. I was very, very happy with it. But unfortunately, the negative size is, look, it's not a real lot bigger than the old 110 cartridge films. And to be honest with you, it shows. And when I show you the photographs at the end, and you do a comparison, you'll actually see that problem with grain. To be fair, I actually put an expired film in the iS-2000 as well. Sorry, the iS-200. I've done it again. I put an expired film in that, but that's only a couple of years out of date. This is 5 years out of date, the film. So, yeah, look, it was just a bit of fun. You know, don't take too much stock of it as far as anything empirical is concerned, or any hard and fast data facts. Okay, so that was the Centurion. All a bit of fun. I'll just blow the little bit of gooby off there. Okay, the iS-200, also known as the iS-20, in America, has a 28-110 zoom, as I said before. Quite a nice little zoom, although at the 28mm, there's a bit of distortion. You know, it's pretty average at that end. But if you sort of stick in the middle somewhere, it's not a bad little lens. It has its own built-in lens cap. In fact, if I turn it off, you'll see it will extend all the way in, and then you can just flip that little lens cap up. So that's actually quite nice. There were 3 models in this particular range. There was the iS-200, the iS-100, which was the first of the range, and the iS-300, and they were all very, very similar in features. The iS-300 had a predictive autofocus, to it. I don't know whether that makes it any better. I've actually got an iS-300 model, but it only focuses to about 6 feet, so it's hardly predictive unless you're 6 feet away from something. So I really haven't been able to compare the two. I don't quite know. My thought would be if you got a working model in any of the three, you'd be probably quite happy with them and wouldn't really feel as though you'd missed out on anything. The viewfinder is reasonably bright. Both of these are SLRs, or ZSLRs, as I think Olympus called them, where you actually look through the lens. So it's like a 35mm SLR, but they tended to get called bridge cameras as well. So I don't think I've got too much more to say about this. Fairly happy with it. Not thrilled. It's quite a bit smaller than the iS-1000 series, so the 1000, 2000, and of course the 3000, which is the biggest of the lot, about almost a kilo. So it is much more portable, I suppose. There were less accessories than you can get in the 1000 range, but they were designed for sort of different photographers. This is very much the point and shoot photographer that actually wanted a little bit more to play with. And as you can see here, you can actually change the I'll turn it back on again. You can actually change the F numbers, and so it's aperture preferred automatic. Hopefully you can see me changing the aperture there, and it's 4.5 through to 22, and then it just toggles back around again. And I think if we actually change the zoom to telephoto, it will actually automatically go to 5.6. So 4.5 at the wide end, 5.6 at the tele end. So that's really quite handy for somebody who wants to have a little bit of a play around, but still wants that point and shoot sort of versatility and or ease, I should say, the versatility, but the point and shoot ease. So quite easy to load. I haven't had a problem really loading film into them. He says, not being able to get the back open. It has a sort of a hidden sort of area where it tucks the film into. It works very, very well. Like I said before, 1/2000th of a second. I can't quite remember what the longest shutter speed is. I'll put it up there on the screen when I find out for you. So that's probably about all I can tell you. I hope you enjoyed the opportunity to actually see the difference between noisy old thing. I hope you've enjoyed the opportunity to see the difference between the two cameras. And the two types of format, the films. It's been fun. I won't run another APS-C film through. I don't see the value in them. So that's the end of the line for this old Centurion, I'm afraid. Ave Centurion, tonsillitis. If you've read any Asterix comics, you'll know what I'm talking about there. That's your lot for today. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.